Welcome to the App on Board Studio training. In this session, we will provide guidance on how to build your unit from scratch in the studio. Once you open the studio, begin by naming your project and selecting the orientation of your unit, portrait or landscape. A landscape unit is 1920 by 1080 or horizontally native, and a portrait unit is 1080 by 1920 or vertically native. Next, select the folder that you wish to have all your assets reside in. Keep in mind that anytime you upload files in the studio, the platform will create duplicates within this folder structure. When you're ready to begin assembling, click Get Started. Depending on the complexity of your unit, we recommend beginning the assembly by first creating all of your core scenes. Being consistent with your naming conventions will expedite unit creation. We suggest making sure that your scene names directly correlate to the behaviors that they contain, or reference the media files that they contain. See the list of scenes on the right-hand side of the page for reference. Next, upload your assets by clicking the Add Assets button or simply dragging your files into the Assets window. Actions are the commands that exist within each scene. This can mean playing videos, playing sound effects, playing background music, showing elements, setting counters, setting triggers, or even creating transitions. For now, we'll focus on more basic functionality. Anytime you drag videos from the Elements or Assets panel, you will automatically create the appropriate action to show that element or media. After your scenes are created, if you have your naming conventions consistent, you should be able to easily search within the Assets panel and drag the proper media into each correct scene. Keep in mind, if you have looping videos, you will need to set the video as looping in the Events and Actions panel. After the core media assets are assigned, it's important to now assign gestures and transitions to connect each of the scenes. Transitions are controlled in two locations. The first is the top left in the Events and Actions panel. These transitions are tied to actions and can either be by counter, at video end, or probability alone. Transitions can also be attached to added gestures by using the Properties panel on the right. The scene containing this gesture will transition after the tap gesture is completed. This is used to mimic app functionality. Transitions depend on the nature of the scene. Looping or idle scenes typically rely on gestures to transition, while action or transitional scenes do automatic transitions by time. An element is an item that can be created once and shown in multiple scenes. You can view all of your created elements by going to the Layers tab and checking Show All. We encourage establishing a naming convention for your elements to easily be able to keep track of them as you build your unit. You can change the names using the Properties tab on the right-hand side of the screen. To create an element, start by dragging an asset from the Assets panel into the scene. Next, drag over your desired element from the Elements tab. Text field elements allow you to upload a font and write within a field that you create. We support the use of OTF or Open Type fonts, as well as TTF or True Type fonts. Buttons are elements that are tappable and have varying transitions associated with them, such as Go to Scene, App Store, Replay, Close, and Open URL. You can identify the destination of your button using the Properties tab on the right. A container can be used to tie multiple elements together. As an example, if you wanted to create a call to action, such as tap here to show throughout the unit, you could create a container and then drag an image element and button element into it. Make sure your button is resting above the image. Gestures are a frequently used element. Taps are completed by a simple interaction with the screen surface. The variation of taps is distinguished by the length of time one interacts with the screen. A simple tap, as previously stated, is a momentary press in a finite region. The action will occur on release of the tap. A long press occurs when the user presses down and holds for roughly 2 seconds. The unit will wait this length of time before processing the action. With a touchdown, the action will occur as soon as a user comes in contact with the screen. Swipes can be either horizontal or vertical, and the action will occur once the user lifts off the screen. Angle mode and path mode gestures will be covered in AO Box Intermediate training. Once you've created a gesture, you'll notice that in the Properties panel, you'll be able to customize where the gesture will take the user to. By default, the From field will populate with the current scene that you first dragged the gesture into. Once you specify where the gesture will send the gesture will be fully functional. It's important to keep in mind that a gesture region can be reused many times in this way by simply modifying the From and To fields within the Properties panel. Now that you understand how gestures and transitions can tie your scenes together, you can refer back to your storyboard to see how they were intended to connect. In addition to this, depending on the complexity of your unit, you can compare your storyboard to the path view. The path view allows you to see the logic or transitions and flow of your unit as a whole. It's best to view this regularly to double-check that everything is placed correctly. Once we cover more complex functionality, the path view will offer insight into how the different scenes interact with one another. Once your unit is assembled, you'll be able to properly preview it using the Studio Companion app. Ensure your phone and computer are on the same Wi-Fi network. Simply click Preview in Studio, open the app, and press Scan QR code. Once the QR code is scanned, select Preview on the Companion app, and your unit will begin playing. After assembling your unit, previewing it, and verifying that everything functions correctly, you'll be ready to publish. We will outline publishing in a separate video. If you wish to practice creating a unit, feel free to watch one of our side-by-side builds, such as AO Beach or AO Beats.